temporary questions from an ever-changing now. The now of consciousness is like a sheet of water, and we are but stones that are thrown in, creating ripples. How is an idea any different than a ripple? Does a ripple last forever? If not, why not? Answering this would also seem to answer why anything that you could possibly do will ultimately amount to nothing in the end. And there is no end. Only ripples come and go. The sheet of water always remains. A burst of vibration is just a burst of vibration. It comes and goes. What is there to gain? What is there to hold on to? Can you hold on to what you've gained forever? If not, then did you really ever gain anything? What is there to strive for? What is there to fight for? Will anything that you fight or strive for really amount to anything that will truly last? When I mean truly last, like 10 billion years from now. The fact that things are not permanent. Why does this upset you? Why do you yearn for something other than non-stop, constant change? Man's idea of heaven is a permanent, immortal self, forever encased in a perfect environment. Is this really truly what you want? Why is immortality humankind's ideal of perfection? Can this perfection ever be achieved with temporary substances? Aren't the temporary substances themselves the only thing that is immortal? If you put out a fire, do you end fire? If you evaporate water, do you end water? If you separate soil, sand, rocks, and stones, do you end earth? If it's true that only within a setting of earth, air, and water can one strike two rocks together, creating a spark that could ignite a fire, then couldn't the same be said to be true of consciousness? That only through context can a consciousness manifest into an idea of a self? Isn't this manifestation the only thing that enables free will, choice, and action? And if it's true that a bucket of ice cubes would melt into one body of water, that 5 sticks of fire, when combined, would make one fire, that if 2 gusts of wind combine, they become 1 gust of wind, if 2 chunks of land are thrown together, they become 1 land, then once again, couldn't the same said to be true of consciousness? That consciousness manifests into temporary forms, but is intrinsically linked to a collective consciousness, a whole of consciousness. Is it better to be a spectator or a player? What does it cost to act? What does it cost to observe? Where does perspective and wisdom truly reside? In action or in observation? Can a higher consciousness be maintained? Can there be a way to maintain this higher consciousness without clinging to form? Is it possible for you to get an outside perspective of yourself? We know that people are aware that they're living a life. But can there be any overall awareness of the life process that's going on? Can people regard the whole life process, even themselves, from an outside point of view? If so, then can that point of view be maintained without clinging to form? If one does not cling to form, is that not freedom from attachment? Isn't clinging to attachments severely constraining? Isn't it a heavy burden that costs a lot of energy for something that is insubstantial? Is upkeeping a self not a burden to you? Is there a better way to spend energy than in babysitting an idea of a self? Has there ever been a moment where you found comfort knowing that eventually you will be absolved of all upkeep and babysitting? The idea of self that you had and the world that it existed in will no longer be your responsibility. Yes or no? Isn't the whole point of self-aware consciousness found within having a context wherein which an idea of a self can be sustained, being sustained, thereby enabling an idea of a self? The freedom and ability to make a choice. You decide.